Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Soul Goals. My name is Dawn. So glad you're joining us today. And I'm extremely honored to have a great friend of mine on the show today, hailing literally like 2 miles from my house,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I think is funny, right? 2
Yeah.
miles.
Yep.
And, our kids grew up together in school, like from a very young age, all the way through high school. And Mandy and her husband and her daughter moved out to where the area where we live. How many years ago did you move out
It'll
here?
be 6 in September, I think.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a bit of time ago. And it's so funny because it's like when your kids grow up, you just totally lose track of each other. Like when your kids get behind the wheel of a car and they start going places.
Ugh, I hate it. I don't like her. I mean, even now, she's 21, and I'm like, on her way here, she came yesterday, and I of course, Life 360. I'm
Yeah.
looking, and it sent her down 24, and I was like, 24, like, through Antioch, and it gets tight, like Hickory Hollow. That's where all the wrecks happen, and
Right, right.
right there. And I was like, why is it sending her that way?
No.
I hate
Well,
it.
I don't think our concern for our kids ever really ends, obviously. I think it's just interesting that like we're so close and that we don't see each other very
Yeah,
often.
yeah.
Yeah. But 'tis life. And I'm really, really glad that you agreed to come on and talk today. Mandy is a breast cancer survivor from 2004 when you were initially diagnosed. And before we hit the record, she was sharing, she's like, I feel like it's just been so long ago that it's almost like you've compartmentalized it in your brain and it's hard to kind of recall and pull that back out. But I think that your words are super valuable for people to hear because of the length of time that you have been cancer free at this point and what your life has looked like since going through that diagnosis and since going through all of the surgery and the stuff that you did go through. So,
Yes.
without further ado, my friend Mandy, welcome to the show. Yay!
Hello.
Awesome. Awesome to have you. Like I said, I'm really, really glad that you agreed to do the show. Really glad. I know you were also talking, you're like, I'm kind of a shy person. I get that. Yeah. But I think that your story is so formidable and so relatable, fortunately yet unfortunately, in the day and age where we are for breast cancer. And especially the fact that you developed this and found this issue when your daughter was 18 months old. So you are a new mom
Mhm.
and here we are. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, yeah. Well, when I first, I guess, knew about I found the lump myself. She was probably just a little over a year old because I knew about it for a long time. I just couldn't get doctors to listen to me and all that kind
Okay.
of stuff, which I figured we'd talk about a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Part
Yeah.
of my frustration and part of my story where I like to tell people, I mean, people are curious, they want to know, they want to ask me, are you okay to talk about it? And I'm like, yes, if you'll listen to me and do what and take my advice, I guess.
Right. Right. So it's something that you knew and you suspected. Tell me a little bit more about that because that frustration of not being heard and knowing intuitively as a woman that there's something going on. I think that's a very valuable piece that we have to learn as women to trust and we have to educate our kids to know, hey, like if something doesn't feel right, you really know your body and
Yes.
you know what you feel like.
Yes. You have to listen to that voice that keeps telling you something's going on. You need to do something about this. And so I was in the shower. It was probably like, so I went to my OBGYN in March. Well, I knew I had an appointment coming up in March.
Mhm.
And I'd felt it like maybe a couple weeks before, or maybe even a month. Like I said, I've forgotten a lot of it.
Yeah.
Self-preservation.
Right.
And so felt it myself. I was like, what's that? And then I thought, well, and I even had my mom feel it and everything. And so I just thought, I'll tell my OBGYN, who is awesome and I love her. And I said, you helped save my life.
Yeah.
My OBGYN.
Um,
She's since retired though.
oh,
But so she, felt it she was like, "Not really sure,
Mhm.
but let's go ahead and get you an appointment with someone." And so I went and had the appointment. He felt it, had a mammogram. They even did an ultrasound, and they were like, I don't see, mammogram didn't show anything. Ultrasound, I remember looking and I was like, I think I see it. I think, and they're like,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh,
Um,
wow. You saw it. Like, you could see
I,
it.
I was like, I think that little spot right there is it. And they were like, yeah, I kind of see that. But they were just very wishy washy about it.
Mm.
Of course, I was 28. I,
Okay.
well, at the time I was probably 27, but I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
28 when I had my surgery. And
27, Mandy. You were 27.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. We've been married 5 years, and Hannah was, a baby.
Mhm.
So let's see. Then the doctor said, let's just watch. Come
Okay.
back in like 6 months. And I was like, okay. And I felt good about that. I was like, yeah, great.
Yeah,
I don't need to worry about this. Yeah, let's go. But
yeah.
then like a month or so later, I was like, that voice, it's like something's going on. This isn't, I think you need to, I think, well, what my voice was saying was a biopsy. I need a biopsy.
Right.
And I need somebody to look at this again. And so I called the doctor and basically demanded,
Mhm.
like, because they didn't want to do it. They just didn't think it was anything to worry about. And
Uh,
so I basically demanded, and that was back in March, and I don't really remember like the time frame of when I had the mammogram and all that stuff too.
mm,
But then I went back and made him do the biopsy, and I even remember in the biopsy him holding up the little whatever it was vial, and he goes, "This doesn't even look like cancer. This is,
oh,
you're fine." And then 3 days later, they call,
oh my God.
it's cancer.
Yeah, like, and that would like, that's you listening to that instinctual voice in your head and in your gut saying, this has to be done."
Yeah.
Wow.
I just, even as I was saying that, I remember when he was not even going to do a mammogram or the ultrasound, and the nurse was like, with her family history, my mom has had breast cancer as well, and her sister,
Okay.
and they were like, with her age and her family history, and like the nurse said it to him, like, why don't we just do it? And he was like, okay, and so I mean, he just didn't want to do it. He just didn't think it
So
needed.
you honestly think, yeah, like, he just didn't think there was anything
He
to
said
it.
it was rib cartilage,
Oh, interesting.
and I just, that voice was just like, "Nope, you need
Yeah.
to go further. You need," and I had to. I was like, "Look, if you're not gonna do a biopsy, I'm gonna go somewhere else and get somebody else to do it."
Right. Right, exactly. So once you got that information 3 days later that
Mhm.
this was in fact cancer, what was the next step for you?
He wanted to see me the next day. Like, I went in the next day,
Mhm.
and from what I remember, um, he wanted me to do a lumpectomy, and that voice still was telling me, I don't think, because the type that I had, they said, is likely to come back in the other breast.
Okay.
Um, and I was like, I just didn't feel good about that. And then luckily, I've got a lot of nurses in my family.
Yes.
And I was able to talk with them and get their opinions. And they actually, Kim Quirk, like, if I remember, I think it was her, she reached out and got me like a second opinion.
Mhm.
They were saying, second opinion. And so I did that, and got with a very great, awesome surgeon. And she was like, "Ma, I think double mastectomy." And I
Okay.
was like, thank you. That's what I feel too.
Yes, okay, good. So you connected with somebody that really, really resonated with you on that.
Mhm, mhm. Yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Did you have any fear beyond that was gonna happen, and did they talk about anything treatment-wise beyond that? Or did they say, "I think once we do this, it's gonna be taken care of"? Was there a concern, or were they pretty adamant about, "No, I think we've got this in time and it's gonna be okay"?
I think we got this in time. Mine was very small. I was stage 1, caught it early.
Okay.
Luck They thought with my age, that most cancers, of course, this was 20 years ago. It'll be
Yeah.
20 years in September. So they know so much more now. But back then, they really just thought we caught it early. It's small. It's not aggressive. Mine was not aggressive.
Okay.
Um, that I think, double mastectomy with reconstruction, and
Mhm.
you want no chemo, no radiation.
Okay. So that's a positive. But what were your feelings when you first got that diagnosis with first of all, being a new mom? First of all, I feel like if I'm thinking about it, it's almost like a double-sided thing. Like, okay, validation, thank God I knew something was wrong here.
Yeah.
And but oh my God, something is wrong here.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was like the end of the world. I was
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
they're wrong. That's
Yeah.
no. I mean, I did have the thought of, I remember thinking, I think they mixed me up with somebody else. This is
Oh,
not possible. I'm healthy. I'm young. I'm healthy. I don't have any issues. I'm not, I don't fit like the profile of, someone that you would think would have this kind of stuff. I don't
yeah.
have any, I wasn't having any symptoms. I don't have like other than, the genetic part, I guess.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I just thought they're wrong. It's not me. But
Yeah.
then, yeah, I also was like devastated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
How was your family with you? Because I know your family unit you're super tight with everybody. They had to have rallied around you because I mean, you have an 18-month-old. It's your
Oh, yeah.
firstborn.
Yeah. Yeah. No, of course, mom and dad were there for me. Yeah, because I couldn't, after surgery, couldn't pick Hannah up for, I can't even remember, but it was months and months. Uh, my in-laws were right down the street. They helped tremendously. And I remember once we found out, like all the cousins, a lot of cousins and
Yeah.
aunts and uncles, we all met over at one of my uncles and aunts' house. And, they kind of just showed support
Yeah.
for what I was going through. But yeah, lots of people coming and checking on me, stuff like that after the surgery, and food, and
How
yeah.
did you balance all being a mom with okay, first of all, the emotion of it, the devastation of it,
Yeah.
and having to have the surgery. First of all, coming to a place where this major of a decision at age 27, 28, of having to take both of your breasts off. Thankfully, there is reconstruction. And as
Mhm.
a young female, you're like, okay. I mean, and I know I've got dear friends that have chosen not to do reconstruction, and I have dear friends that have chosen to do it.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very personal choice, obviously, but everybody has always said that. But I think if I look at your situation from an outside view, it's like you're young. You're young. Like you were saying, I'm healthy. It's just very odd, even with that genetic background, for that to have happened so early. Was there any talk by any of the doctors about why they suspected it had happened as early as it did?
No, not really. I mean, they just knew that they totally said it's genetics. It's because my
Okay.
mom had it. They just really thought that. But now I don't know that it was genetics. I've had all the work done. I've had all the genetic workup. I don't have any genes. They just
Okay.
knew I had the BRCA. I think they call it the BRCA 1 and 2 and all that. And it came back negative. And
Yeah.
then I've had even further, like any of the cancer genes they know about. I've had it all done, and I don't have anything.
Okay.
There's nothing that, of course, there might be some they don't know about yet.
Right.
But I mean, part of me, I think diet, stress, I
Hmm.
mean, hormones, like I did, because they told me that they thought maybe it started about 5 years before I was diagnosed.
Oh, wow.
And
The growth itself would have started
mhm,
years
by
before.
the size of it and everything, it was very small. It was very tiny. But they said probably it was in there about 5 years growing, and that's about the same time I was taking birth control. So I don't want to put any of that kind of out there and scare people, but I just
Yeah.
don't want to. I don't like when you start messing with your hormones and stuff like that. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
no, they don't have any idea.
Right. I think the bigger message here that I'm taking away from what you're saying is that listening to yourself and
Yeah.
really, really like listening and advocating for something does not feel right. Something is off. And
Mhm.
I need to do something about that. I need you to hear me because I know this something
Yeah.
seriously up with me.
Yes. Yes. That was definitely something that I try to let people know about when they're asking, and,
Mm,
try to advise people to just listen to that inner voice.
right. All right. So I want to know a little bit more about what you feel with having a daughter that is 21 years old now and the concerns that you might have for her based on the fact that you developed this at such a young age.
Yeah, yeah, because I was probably like, if not, it was fixing to start at around probably 22, 23. So they say,
Yeah.
so yeah. But I just recently, because, like I said, I think I was saying, I didn't want to scare her. I don't want her to think that, oh, she's going to have breast cancer too, just like mom.
Right.
So, but
Right.
I also want her to be educated. I also want her to be knowledgeable. Of course, going to be a nurse,
Right.
studying to be a nurse. So, but I want her to be aware, and she knows that I had breast cancer. She
Right.
didn't at the time, but yeah,
Right. Right.
she's known it now. But but I did just recently, maybe just like within the month, we sat down and or we talked on the phone. Or I don't know,
Right.
maybe she was in town anyway. But just talked to her about doing your self exams.
Right.
You do that every month. And she said,
Right.
yes, your mom. And I was just showing her, how to do it and what to do. And, just, I also have really, really kind of preaching at trying to be more aware of our food choices,
Ah, yes. Yes.
and
It's a
what's
big
in our
deal.
food. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really wish that I had known that more. Like, I'm always tried to, my degree, which I've not used other than about 6 months, was dietetics. So I'm
Okay.
always very interested in nutrition and stuff like that. And, but I just really kind of want her to change what she's eating, like just be more knowledgeable about what you're putting in your body.
Right. Right.
'Cause I don't think I think that there's so much in our food in America that is horrible for us, and we all need to stop eating it.
Yes. Yeah, I think it sets us up for it sets our the genetic plan that we have anyway, like, chances are we could develop these just because of the genetics, but it can
Right,
click that gene on so much faster, or it can mutate and cause other things that we're not gonna be getting, we weren't supposed to be predisposed to. So there's a
right.
lot of things that, like, and I was actually having this conversation with a client yesterday about chemicals in drinks and
Mhm.
how it was like, let's do something with real sugar in it that has 50 calories in it
Mhm.
versus something that has a list of of chemicals
They
that
can't
you
even
can't
pronounce.
pronounce. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that's
And your
kinda
body doesn't know how to break that stuff down,
mm,
doesn't know how to metabolize it, how to utilize it, and it's almost like a misconfiguration within the genetic code, and
yeah,
it throws all these really crazy signals out there for your body to
yeah.
go, "What do I do with this?"
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. Yep. So that's kind of what I'm trying to, educate her on, and I'm educating myself as well, because I don't this is something recent for me as
Mhm.
well,
Yeah.
um, but trying to change what we're putting in our bodies.
Yeah, which is great, and, no I was just gonna say a little later on, I made this note, like, knowledge is power. Knowledge
Mhm.
is so much power,
Yes.
and I think, again, I just go back to that whole thing that you've been talking about is that inner knowledge. I'm gonna go even to that extent too. I know too, you did speak about, when we were off camera too, you were talking about being young and having to have both of your breasts removed
Yeah.
and what that like, if you look back at it in your brain, what that really did for you, what that really did to you. Tell me a little bit more about the emotion behind that for you.
Yeah, I mean, at first I didn't care. I was like, "No, get them off. I don't care.
Mm,
They
mm.
have cancer in them. They've done me wrong. Get off my body.
Yeah,
I want you out."
yeah.
And so that's how I was at first. And my my mom, had breast cancer too, but she had a lumpectomy and she didn't have any reconstruction, and she regretted that, and she always wished that, of course, she had it back in the 80s, and she had wished that she had gone and had reconstruction. So she kind of told me it would be really awesome for you to not have to, like, look at yourself without them. And it's everyone's choice,
Right, right.
but she was concerned about that for me.
Mhm.
And but years later, or a year later, or whatever, yeah, it is hard. It's marriage,
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I'm sure it was hard for John as well.
right.
Um, there's things I miss. Uh,
Yeah,
I mean, I wasn't big at all,
yeah.
but like I miss my little one, my little,
Yeah. Oh,
but but I think I made the right decision for
yeah.
myself.
Yeah, yeah.
And but yeah,
How
it was
was
hard. It was hard.
right. How I can imagine, speaking of your husband, how was his emotion during all of this? I mean, obviously, he's a strong supporter of you,
Yes.
but being a new parent and then the love of his life going through what you're struggling with, like, he's got I'm sure he's got a lot on his brain.
Yeah. I'm sure he did too.
Mhm.
It was very stressful. It was very hard. I'm not going to say it was easy. But he is very, very strong in his faith, and he was like, whatever's will be will be. You just need to accept this. And but a lot of things, like he would say, if you're supposed to, I don't know how to say this, like, if you're supposed to pass away from this, then that's how it's supposed to be. That's God's plan, and that's how it's supposed to be. And I'd be like, well, I don't like God's plan. I don't want that. I want to live. And so
Yeah.
that kind of was like an argument for us, because I was like, I know that. I know if it's meant to be, then it's meant to be, but that doesn't mean I have to be happy about it. Hannah needs her mommy. Who's
Right.
gonna fix her hair? You know, you know. Um, so but that was his thing, you just
Yeah.
need to accept it. If this is meant to be, then this is how it's gonna be. And
Yeah.
just
And
like that.
I get that. I get that. Tell me a little bit about, that emotion. Were you angry? Were you sad? Were you do you remember if you think back and you can kind of recall any of those points, is there any emotion that stands out more than another that you felt during that whole process?
Yeah, I was angry, at times. I was
Mhm.
very sad at times. I remember there was a time when it was times where I would go and I would look at Hannah in the crib and just watch her and just be like, how can I leave this, kind of
Yeah.
thing. It was kind of like, I guess, desperation of, I've got to live. She needs me, kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's your purpose, it's your drive.
yeah,
Yeah. And as a mom, I think that's just such a if we talk about that innate feeling, that's that innate drive that we have as women
yeah,
that choose to be mothers
yeah,
and that have these little people. Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that was probably the hardest. Those were the times where I would kind of get down in the dumps. Like,
Mhm.
I wrote it down when you sent me some questions, and I was just, writing. And but one of them was, a lot of, like, gratefulness too.
Mm.
Um, we were at a play, like a Christmas play at, Opryland.
Okay.
And Hannah was a very active child. She always had a lot of energy. That whole As soon as the play came on, and they were, things were coming down the aisle, and there was just a lot of stuff going on the stage, and she was in my mom, or it was either my mom or dad's lap, and she was just like,
Gee.
stopped. And that kid would never stop, but she was just, and I just had, like, I was sitting, like, there were probably like 3 or 4, she was like 3 or 4 people down, and John was this in between us, and then my mom and dad, and I was just bawling, and John was like, "What's going on? What's going on?" And I was like, "I am so grateful," and I don't wanna cry, but I am so
Mhm.
grateful that I get to see her enjoy it.
Experiencing that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so you
Yeah.
that was something that maybe has come out of this, that appreciation of the small things.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Mandy, thank you for sharing.
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I think that's so touching because I think so much of the bigness of a diagnosis like this and something that you go through, we lose those little pieces along the way. And then, like, I think those are like, I had a guest on a few weeks ago, and he talked about God winks.
Yeah,
Like, that's a
yeah,
God wink.
yeah. Oh,
Like,
for sure.
yeah. And
Yeah,
it's a real grounding for us to go, this is really the things that matter
exactly.
for
Yeah,
where we are.
yeah,
Yeah.
and until something like that happens to you, you might, it's not that you aren't grateful, but you just are living life and you miss it, or, like, you just don't, like, I guess the small things just get so much bigger, and they're just,
Right.
I'm just so happy to see it and to recognize it.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing I try, I try to pull from this is, and one thing I guess that I've realized, life moments, they're amazing.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They are. And not getting trapped in the bigness
The
of it all.
monotonous, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
The
Yeah.
just getting in your routine and, going through it. No, I tried, and I still do that. I still
Yeah.
miss the small things. You get into your routine and you miss it. But when you go through something like this, that kind of, like, stuff sticks out a little bit more than.
Yeah, and I think that, anyone would say that. Like, I think your brain has to go to that place of survival. What do we have to do now? This is what is in front of us.
Right.
We have to go A, B, C to get to where where we need to be.
Right.
So the
Right.
small things do tend to get kind of pushed to the side, and then when you do get those opportunities to really dig in and feel and hear those blessings, what a validation the whole situation is for you,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Because I thought I might not get to see all this. And
Yeah.
so every year since, and every moment since, I am like, I almost wasn't supposed to see all, and maybe if I hadn't have fought so hard, I mean, they were just wanting to come back in 6 months, and who knows what it would have done in 6 months.
Wow, right,
What if it
Mandy?
had metastasized in 6 months, or, you know, I- you don't know. Luckily, it hadn't, it wasn't in any lymph nodes and all that kind of stuff. Cause that probably would have changed the plan as well if it were in
Yeah.
lymph nodes and stuff like that. But
Yeah, but what a great point for you just to have said, because it's the combination of you going, "Something's wrong," and I know I keep beating this dead horse, but it's just so, so vitally important.
it
If you feel like something is not correct, you need to question it, and you need to follow up with it, and you really need to demand that it be looked at. It may be nothing, but you're not gonna know that unless you look at it, and like you said, if you would have waited and not listened to that voice,
right.
then it could have had a whole different outcome for you.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's a lot of the gratitude that you experience too in those little moments, if I'm hearing you, is
Mhm.
that, wow, I see what the other side could have been so much different.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. You don't just, and I feel like I've told my cousin Mel, I've told her about this, and I've told quite a few people, but I feel like sometimes I should have been like a patient advocate or something. It's like,
Ah,
don't just listen to what your doctor tells you. I mean, they're great, amazing people, and I'm glad we have them.
yes.
But they're people. They're not 100%.
Right.
They're not always right, and you feel it. If you've got to listen to your body. Don't just always listen to what they're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to be that advocate. I think you would have done a great job as a patient advocate.
I can motivate people to get
Yeah.
stuff done and go, if they'll listen to me. Like, a lot of times I've told like, there's been so many women, they want to come to me and hear my story, and I'll tell them, I really loved my doctor, and my doctor did something that not a lot of my plastic surgeon only had to have one surgery. And a lot of women that have breast cancer have to have multiple surgeries.
Right.
And so I tell them about that and like ask about that option. And some of them are like, yeah, I will. And then some of them I'm like, you're not gonna do it.
Really?
But I thought at the time with Hannah being 18 months, I would only have one surgery. I would come out with the boobs gone, but also the boobs, the reconstruction was already there. So I never saw myself without breasts.
Okay.
And
that's unusual now, or is that still something that that can happen? But I guess it depends upon the situation.
it depends upon the surgeon. Like I went and had 3 different opinions, and he was
Okay.
the last one I went to, and he told me about that surgery. It's like, why are other doctors not doing that? Like, this is awesome. This is what I want to do. And I don't really remember why doctors aren't doing it, but most women have the cancer, the breast tissue taken out. And
Yes.
then I think they're called expanders or something put
Yeah.
in. And
Mhm.
then you have to, or maybe that's the first surgery. And then the second surgery is getting the expanders in. And then you have to go in, like, I don't know once every couple weeks or something, and get a needle where they put the saline in until you get to the size that you want.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any of that. I just had the one surgery. And I felt like for me in my situation and Hannah being young, just one surgery would fit my lifestyle the best.
Yeah.
And not
Yeah.
have to have the surgery and then go back in 6 months or whatever and have another surgery.
Right. With a toddler.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Yes, you're my doctor. Yes, I need that.
Yeah, yeah. And it sounds like it all went off pretty well for you then.
It was like the best situation. When I tell people that have had breast cancer and all that, they're like, oh my gosh, you had a great experience. Even nurses are like, you just had a great experience. It just all went really well. Praise the Lord.
So even saying that great experience or the best experience with this situation, I mean, can you share with me what your hardest experience with this whole process was? If you had to like bring one point or a couple points kind of to the forefront.
As far as the doctor and the surgery experience and all that, or
just the experience as a whole, from the start to finding it to the full recovery.
I mean, the tubes were horrible.
Mm.
I had 4 tubes. I do remember them. That was probably and I don't remember the names, and I should have looked this up, but a lot of times what they do with the reconstruction is they take either tissue from down on your stomach or from your back.
Okay.
And I think they have, because if I remember right, it was like blood flow, because you have to have blood flow and all that. And I was too skinny to have them take any from my stomach. So they took it from my back. I have scars that go like this on my back. I call it where my angel wings come out.
Oh my God.
I'm
Okay.
just hiding my angel wings in there.
Yes.
People ask me, what? Can I just ask you, what are those scars from?
Yeah.
Those are
Right.
my angel wings.
Very unique.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. They look different. They're long. They're probably like this far on each side of my back. And what they did was they brought a muscle on my back. They brought it around to for the breast tissue and stuff like that. But so what I was saying was I had a lot of scars there. I mean, and I had tape all over, and I had to sit up in a chair instead of laying down on my back. But that didn't hurt as much as the tubes.
Really?
The skin right where the tube is would get so irritated because the tube would be moving back and forth. And they may have gotten a lot better since, that long ago. But the skin right around the tubes was so irritated and like raw.
Yeah.
That was probably the worst part. But I remember we went to a wedding like a week after my husband's best friend got married, and I was going to go. I was bound and determined I was going to go. And so I still had the 4 tubes, and I,
Oh, wow, Mandy.
put a little like a wrap around my shoulders, and we just, like, hid the tubes in all the wrap, and that nobody even knew I had them. I mean,
Mandy.
people that knew what I went through
Yeah.
knew they were there, and they were like, "I can't
Yeah.
believe you're even here." And I'm like, "I'm not missing this wedding." But,
Oh, no.
but yeah, you just get out there and figure it out, and so we just wrapped the tubes all up, and I went.
Do you think that's a big part of the fact that you like, it sounds like there was a pretty quick recovery for you just because you're like, "Okay, life goes on,"
Yeah,
and the fact that you're a new mom to a small child,
yeah,
and it's not going away, so we're just gonna go through it.
yeah,
We just gotta do it.
yeah. Like, people sometimes like, "You're my hero," or, "I can't believe what all you did." I was like, "I'm what I'm just living my life, I'm not gonna,
Mhm.
like, crawl over in a corner and just hang out there,
Yeah.
I'm not a hero. Mm you gotta keep going. Play the
Yeah.
hand you're dealt and move on."
Yes, the hand you've been dealt. Keep moving. Yeah. And I know your faith is a big just like your family's a big part of it, your faith, and you spoke about that a little bit ago with your husband and that being a big thing for him.
Mhm.
Tell me a little bit about more about how you relied on your faith during this whole process.
Oh, faith big time came
Yeah.
in, big
Yeah.
time came in. Got a lot yeah, got a lot closer to God, did a lot
Mhm.
more praying.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I just definitely leaned on, um, talking to Him all the time, and, I do remember I read the whole Bible through because I
Oh,
thought, if I get to heaven and He asks me, "Did you read my book?" I'm be like, "Yes, I did, sir. Yes, I did." And that was
yes, sir, I
I was bound and determined I was gonna
did.
read that Bible just in case I was coming soon.
Yes. Oh, golly.
But
Gosh.
no, a lot of prayer,
Mhm.
and, got a lot closer to God.
Yeah. Yeah. What, what is the biggest blessing? Would you say it's that being in that present moment and having those moments of realization that the small things are really the big things? Would you say
Mhm.
that's your biggest blessing?
Yeah, I would. That after going through it all and everything, all the bad stuff,
Yeah.
yes, that was probably what stands out to me the most, was realizing that don't take this life for granted, and enjoy, you know, the little small things, and that you're here to experience it and take it day by day.
Yeah. I love that. You're here to experience it. Yeah. Oh, I love that, Mandy. What would be some advice you would give to say, God forbid, I know that it's affecting young mothers. What
Mm.
would you say now to someone that may be in your situation today, currently?
I would say listen to that voice.
Mhm.
It's there for a reason. I feel like it's guardian angel or God telling you to, do something.
Yeah.
Um, and listen, maybe lean on someone or find someone that's been through it. Get advice. Listen to them. Don't. I don't want to like bad talk doctors because, like I said, they're awesome. But get second opinions, get third
Mm,
opinions.
yeah.
Don't just go, because I did. The first doctor was telling me a lumpectomy, and I was like, I don't know about that. I feel like I want a double bisectomy. And he was like, no, nope, nope. He just didn't even want to talk about it. And um, but yeah, second opinions. Just don't just go with what you're immediately told.
Right.
Research it. Research. You just talk to as many people as you can.
Yes, research, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and I actually think, I've had doctors in the past that have said the same thing. It's like, I do your due diligence, follow through, find what works for you on all
Right.
levels. That's what's gonna be most successful, so I'm really glad that you were able to find that and that
Mhm.
you had that that group around you and that you listened to following that and looking for that and researching that because again, knowledge is power.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I mean, just knowledge is power for sure. Yeah, find out as much as you can about it, and don't just rely on somebody telling you, and this is what you have to do. No, go figure out what you need to do from what makes you feel good. And yeah, knowledge is power.
I love it. Mandy, you're awesome. Thank you so, so, so much for talking today.
Oh,
I'm
I'm
so,
glad to
so
do it.
happy that you shared your story.
Glad to
And
do it.
yeah, I really think when we were talking earlier, it's like, you were like, well, it's been so long ago. There's certain things I don't remember, but I just really feel so, so, so compelled to say that everybody that has had something of this nature has a gift to share with others. And the stuff that you've shared today are such true gifts for people to hear and for people to know that if they're in the middle of it, they're not alone, that other people have gone through it. People have had doubts, people have had second thoughts, people have had gut things it's important. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, thank you for those words and for your giving your experience in that such a vulnerable way as well.
Yeah.
It's
No.
very, very touching.
Yeah. No, I'm glad to do it. And if it will help anyone, that's awesome.
Yes, it absolutely will. I know it will.
Yeah.
But before I let you go, though, I do kind of want to shift the wheel a little bit, just because I always like to leave the context with some lightheartedness and do some rapid fire questions, just so our listeners can kind of see that you're a real person outside of maybe the intensity of your story and get some have some fun with it. Are you good with that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Show my
Okay.
goober. I'm a big goober. So yeah.
You're a goober. You're an awesome goober. Fun. Okay. I got about 4 or 5 of them. I'll just throw your way. All
Oh,
right.
goody. Okay.
Okay. Question number 1. What is your favorite month of the year and why?
I would say the first thing that comes to my mind would be like springtime. So I'm thinking March, my birthday.
Okay.
And but I like it. I love the flowers starting to bloom, and it means it's fixing to get warm, and it's going to be lake weather,
Ooh,
and
I like that.
and we're going to go on vacation. So yeah, I mean, it just gets me started to, you're getting out of the winter. I don't like the
Yeah.
winter months, and so yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah. It's a season of rebirth. It's
Yeah,
like things are
new
growing.
beginnings, new beginnings.
New beginnings. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Question number 2.
Okay.
Would you rather be able to fly or have superhuman strength? One or the other.
Both. No.
Do
Uh,
I have to choose?
I know. I'm doing F-45 now, and
Let's
um,
go.
I know,
Okay.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm so much stronger. Like my body is different than it's been in 20 years.
Oh, I love
But I
that.
love it. But I think I would rather fly though.
Okay.
I think that would be cool.
Why
I'm
do you
already
think
super strong.
I was gonna say,
And I'm not
yeah.
gonna compete with you.
Oh, whatever. Whatever. No, that class, the F-45 that you're doing is no joke. Yeah.
It is, I need to do it more. I've only been able to, like, go a couple of times a week, but I would like to do, because sometimes it's a hybrid where it's, weightlifting and cardio, and
Yeah.
those are the no joke ones.
That's a killer. That's a killer. Yeah. So I can see you've already got that one kind of in the pocket, the superhuman strength. The
Yeah,
flight
right.
would be cool because you could see, oh, you could go and check out what's happening with your daughter when she's at college. I know that could be good or bad.
Ooh, right. You mean fly?
Yeah.
Oh, that could be good or bad. I mean, I'm kinda doing it already with Life 360, and I feel like I'm an eye up in the sky on her at all times.
Where are you? Where are you? Where are you?
Why is she there? Yeah, yeah.
We do it because we love them.
I know. We
There
love
you
and
go.
care, and don't walk anywhere by yourself,
Right. I get it. I
and
get
carry
it.
your pepper spray everywhere.
Amen, sister. All right, question number 3.
Okay.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how messy is your house? 1 being it's like a total mess. 10 being I think I could probably eat off of the floor. It's so clean.
Oh god. Well, it's not a 1 and it's not a 10,
Okay.
but I don't like mess. So I would probably, I wanna say, "Hannah, what do you think?" Um, 8. I mean,
It's fine.
I don't like a messy house. I like it to be clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I wouldn't eat off the floors. We have a cat.
I was gonna Like,
So
you have animals, right?
yeah. So, but yeah, I don't like mess.
So, one of my friends said, yesterday, she was talking about clutter being, like,
I don't like
chaotic
clutter.
for her
Yeah,
and making her feel chaotic inside when she doesn't have her stuff kind of just put it doesn't always have to be specific, but it's gotta have a spot almost, and
yeah.
there's some kind of organization to it, whether it's a pile here and a pile here, but that pile has to be organized. It was a
That's
really intriguing
that's me.
conversation.
That's
Yeah,
me. That's me too. Like, I can take, like, a little bit, like, I'm looking at my counter right now, and I'm like, "You need to go away, you need to be put up." And things get different when Hannah comes home because
yeah.
you can
They're
just see
kids.
you can see everywhere she's been.
Yeah,
I love it, I want her home, so I'm not
yeah,
gonna complain a lot, um, but yeah, I like organization.
yeah. I'm
Yeah,
with you.
for sure.
Right there, girl.
Yeah,
Same, same.
yeah.
Alright, question number 4. Would you rather travel to the past or to the future?
I wanna go to the past. Yeah, I would love
Okay.
to see people that have passed away. I'd love to go get to hang out with them again, for
Oh,
sure.
Mandy,
Family.
who would you really wanna connect with if you had that opportunity? If God said, "Here today, I'm giving you an hour with this person," who would that be?
Oh my gosh, I couldn't choose just one.
Oh, wow,
I
yeah.
would love I would love to see grandparents,
Mm,
because I think because mine all other than one passed away when I was pretty young, and just things I would like to know that I didn't get to ask, and that's yeah, I'd like to go
yeah.
see. But I can't just choose one. I'd want to see
Okay.
all 4 of them.
You'd have a family meal at your house, at your
Heck
big
yes, and my father-in-law, I'd love to see him again.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You're very introspective, and I wonder, and I'm going to dive back into our conversation for just a second because I
Sure.
feel like have you always been introspective like that? Has that always been kind of your makeup?
I think so. I do. Yeah, I feel like I am.
Because I think sometimes, like, when you go through something like you just went through, right? Or not just went through, but that you've been in the midst of and the experience you
It's in
had.
your life at all time. I mean, I probably think about it at least once a day. So, yeah, even though it's been 20 years, it's fresh always.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
knowing that you have this deep introspective well about you in general, I think that probably gives you a whole even another side of gratitude for where you are now. And those small moments like we were talking about when Hannah, was experiencing that play and you watching her
Yeah.
have that experience. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For
All right.
sure.
All right. I got one more question for you, then I'll let you go.
Okay.
All right. What do you wish you had learned sooner?
Oh, man. Okay. Uh, Probably to just calm down. It's not
Oh,
gonna be that
wow.
bad.
Yeah.
Like, don't overthink things so much and just chill and calm down. It's just not gonna be that bad. Like, calm. And
Yeah.
maybe that would be something. That's kind of the first thought that comes to
Yeah.
mind.
Well, and again, it's our instinctual nature to for a lot of us to go boom like that. I know it is for me, and I have to. I have a tattoo on my arm that says pause, breathe, and then
Yes,
resume. Yeah,
yes, I need that. Yeah.
yeah. Just like I had to pause, like calm the thoughts,
Right,
take a
exactly.
deep breath, and then carry on.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, I'm still learning it and needing it, but I wish I'd learned it, like, when I was younger.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
like,
think that's an interesting thing too, because like if we look back as adults with grown children now,
Mhm.
you look at it and go, wow, you can live your life back through their eyes and look at
Mhm.
life as they look at it and go, oh, if I only had known. But what would have you done differently? Like what would have happened differently?
Yeah, and I don't know that I want it differently, but I just yeah, I just wish that I would have maybe not reacted a certain way and, yeah, just kind of, like, step back and then, think about it and then react, just, kinda thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe it
Human
wasn't
nature.
that big of a deal.
Yeah. Yes.
Calm
So
down.
we're gonna work on that together because
Yeah,
same boat,
yeah,
same boat. And
yeah.
I'd wager to bet a large amount of people hearing this today are probably can say, "Yeah, okay." Check that box for me too.
Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
And still trying to learn. But yeah.
Yeah, and we will be. And I think it's a beautiful thing about life. We're always learning, always evolving, always moving forward.
Yes. Yes.
Yay. Yay, Mandy, thank you so much for being on the
No,
show today,
no, you're
sharing your
welcome. Glad to.
story. Oh, well, I have loved getting to know more about this process with you and your whole experience, even though it was 20 plus years ago, it still is fresh. I think that's
Mhm.
something to be really, really expanded upon very quickly before we end is that it's something that does not go away. You said it is something you think about. And the gifts that it has brought you are invaluable just as much as the challenge of it was
Yeah.
initially and through the years.
Yeah. Yeah. It gets easier, of course. Time heals and it gets easier, but it's always in the back of your
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, Mandy, I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day, a great rest of your
You
week.
too. Fixing to go
Thank
on
you.
vacation.
Thank you. Yes, 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 yes. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.